It's a bold move, performing the role of a woman as formidable and well-known as Margaret Thatcher on film, and only the best could actually pull it off. But Meryl Streep has done it as only she can. She's now at unbackable odds to win her third Oscar for her portrayal of the former British Prime Minister in The Iron Lady. The film looks at power, the loss of power and the realities of old age, including Dame Thatcher's struggle with dementia, an element which has attracted some criticism. Our Europe correspondent Phil Williams met Meryl Streep in London for this interview.
Secretary of State for Education.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Right Honourable Gentleman knows very well that we had no choice but to close the school. Because his union paymasters have called a strike deliberately to cripple our economy.
Meryl Streep, welcome to 7:30. You're playing one of the most controversial, divisive figures in recent modern history. That must have been an incredibly intimidating role to take on.
It was, but it was looking at the most divisive woman in British history from the point of view of age, from the vantage point at the tail end of a very tumultuous career. And through her own eyes, through the lens of the person who lived it. So it's not sort of documentary truth or any sort of thing. It's 3 days in the life of an old woman and the memories that are provoked by the upset of those days.
The woman who changed the face of history.
Yeah.
Yes, and 2 years ago, the Prime Minister quoted St. Francis. Yes, and talked about bringing faith, hope and harmony to this country.
Dennis?
How do you prepare for something like that? I mean, you come from a different culture, effectively. The accent is different. You're playing two ages. Mm-hmm. Extraordinarily challenging.
Yeah. In Australia, I played an extraordinarily controversial, divisive character in Lindy Chamberlain. Someone everybody sat on one side or the other about. And maybe there's a pattern in my life that I want to sort of defend the humanity of people that we've made into emblematic figures of one sort or another, figures of hatred or saints, you know. How do I do that preparation? Just an immersion. I have a musician's, I guess, ear for the sound of the voice, but it's also important to me, in the case of someone who is controversial, to get the outlines of the character right, because how they present themselves to the world has a great deal to do with how people feel about them.
How would you have dealt with this if you'd been Prime Minister?
Where? The bombings, Mummy. Today. We were just talking about them.
No, yes, we have always lived alongside evil, but it has never been so patient, so avid for carnage, so eager to carry innocence along with it into oblivion.
Yeah.
How would you define this film? It's not a entirely political film. It's part feminism. It's also part the ending of someone's life and the attainment of power and the loss of power. But how do you define it?
Well, the filmmakers, a woman wrote it, a woman directed it, I'm in it, a woman edited it. The point of view is different from most films because of that, because it's it's a film that's interested in an older woman and in the losses and in the choices that she made and whether she regrets any of them or where her remembered glory lies and how she remembers the challenges that she faced.
Methinks the right honourable lady doth screech too much. And if she wants us to take her seriously, she must learn to calm down.
If the right honourable gentleman could perhaps attend more closely to what I am saying, rather than how I am saying it, he may receive a valuable education in spite of himself.
Was she a feminist, do you think?
I think that she was a woman who broke ground. I think she rejected the idea that she owed anything to the feminist movement in Britain, and certainly the feminist movement in Britain had no time for her either. She was notoriously... she didn't advance women within her own party necessarily or for any reasons of, a special advancement. But she was a feminist, whether she likes it or not, because she set about to do what we all feminists want, which is to break through the barriers that exist.
I didn't know that you were dropping by today, dear.
As you said yesterday, we were going to start on Dad's things. The cupboards, and then I was going to help you dress. Got Michael and
Jacqueline
coming for dinner tonight.
Yes, of course.
It's also a very poignant story of decline, having been at that height and having then losing those powers. How much did you draw on your own experience with your own family and friends to portray that?
Well, a lot, because I didn't have access to Mrs. Thatcher. I didn't, and really she's withdrawn from public life for the past 10 years, for the most part. So that was an imaginary journey, and that, honestly, was the thing that interested me most. How great people reconcile with the loss of power, and how much being a leader, being a political leader, being willing to stand up and in some measure sacrifice one's family on the altar of either your desire for the public good or your own ambition or some combination of both things. But the cost of what a public life is really interested me. We ask it of our men and women, but we hold women to a different standard in terms of their families. And we certainly looked at Dennis Thatcher in a different way than we look at any First Lady.
Milk's gone up. 49p a pint.
Good grief. You'll have to economise. Suppose we could always sell the car. Or take in paying guests.
Do you feel differently now about it, having played her and immersed yourself in her character?
Yes, I have. I mean, obviously, I know much more about her. I still disagree with many of the politics, but she turns out maybe to have been right about one or two things that...
Such as?
Well, I think it was smart to keep the sovereignty of the pound. I think that proved a good idea. I think it was a good idea to have people purchase their own council housing flats, for instance. It improved communities and improved the idea of proprietary interest in a community. A few other things. But generally, I don't go with her policies. But she was also, there were many surprises learning about her. For instance, she would not be regarded as a conservative in American politics because her social policies were ran afield of that. In my research, I ran into someone who was in the room when she just tore apart the president and of the United States and his vice president for using abortion rights. And she was famously pro-choice, and she recognized global warming early on, and she refused to vilify members of her cabinet or her inner circle who had homosexual scandals. And she said, "You stand by me all day, and this will all go away." I mean, that would be her death knell in American politics. So, what we call conservative, and there were lots of surprises embedded in her story.
What are you thinking, Margaret?
Watch your thoughts, for they become words. Watch your words, for they become actions. Watch your actions, for they become habits. Watch your habits, for they become your character. And watch your character, for it becomes your destiny. What we think we become. My father always said that. And I think I am fine.
You've been universally acclaimed. You're used to that. But one area of total failure is you haven't played the Hollywood game. You've married the same guy. You've stuck with him. Your family are normal and they're not in rehab. Where have you gone wrong?
So far, so good. And I think he stuck with me more than I. I think the credit is all due over there, frankly. I never look, a gift horse in the mouth, and I've been really, really lucky. I'm aware of that. And my career has been given to me by the people I've worked with, no question. The actors, the directors, the cinematographers, the writers, all of whom gave me the opportunity to work in the way that I have, and I'm really grateful.
Meryl Streep, thanks for giving us your time now.
Thank you.